We've done lots with area, and area is how we find something about two-dimensional shapes. Now we're going to talk about 3D figures. We'll eventually be getting into volume, which is how we measure 3 dimensions, but for now we're just going to focus on 3D shapes, what we call them, what they call their pieces, and all those things. So a three-dimensional shape, or three-dimensional figure, has 3 dimensions: length and width and depth or height. You can call it either one. Depth sometimes helps people understand how we're talking about a third level here. And the first type we're going to talk about is a polyhedron. Okay, a polyhedron is a solid with flat surfaces that are polygons. Now, you probably know this is also called a cube. That's a specific kind of polyhedron. But this is an example of one because all the sides are flat and its bases, its top and its bottom, are squares, and a square is a polygon. So we'll first talk about what the different parts of a polyhedron are called. So what we might call lines often is the official name is an edge. So an edge is where two sides intersect in a line. So right here, we can't see it, the kind of the invisible thing over there. So this invisible side connects to the top and forms this edge. This front side connects to the top and forms this edge. So it's where two sides intersect in a line. Then, while we often call them just sides, the official name is a face. The face is a flat surface on the polyhedron. And a point or a vertex is where 3 or more sides, that could be planes, faces, or bases, intersect at a point. Like this point right here, we've got the intersection of the bottom, the front, and this hidden side over here on the left. They all meet at that vertex. Now, within the polyhedrons, there are things called prisms. A prism is a polyhedron with two parallel congruent faces that are called bases, that are polygons. So that was probably actually what I was describing more so up here was a prism. This would be an example of a square prism, but we'll just call it a cube. But its top and its bottom are parallel to each other. Those planes are headed the same direction, and they are squares. A pyramid is a polyhedron with one base, and it could be any polygon. It's often a triangle or a rectangular square, but it can be a pentagon, like this one down here. It could be a hexagon. It could be lots of different things. Now, the other faces are triangles. So for all pyramids, the bottom or the base can be lots of different things, but its sides going up from the base to this point are all triangles. That's true no matter if the base is a triangle, a square, a rectangle, or whatever. Now, when we're naming prisms and pyramids, we name them by the shape of their bases. So I'm just going to do these two right in this video, but if you have your book, you can look at page 707 and see more examples there. So right here, this one is a prism because it's the same shape on the top and the bottom. And if you look, the shape has 5 sides. So it would be a pentagonal prism. If you just write pentagon prism, we're in pre-algebra, I'll accept that. Just show me you know the shape, that's the base, and show me that you know it's a prism. Now this one is a pyramid because it just has one base, then comes to a point. So it would be a pentagonal pyramid. So you name these shapes by naming what the base is, what shape the base is, then saying whether it's a prism or a pyramid. Now there are some solids that are not polyhedrons. A cylinder is a 3D figure with congruent parallel bases that are circles connected with a curved side. So we might be tempted to say, oh, well, that's just a circular prism. But a prism is a word for a polyhedron. And if you look back, one of the requirements for a polyhedron is it has flat surfaces. Now that doesn't mean it can't, well, it doesn't only mean it can't be bumpy. It doesn't only mean it can't have spikes coming out of it. It means that if you were to lay it flat, it should stay still, like lay it flat on a table or on your desk or on the floor. Now this works with the cylinder if you set it down on one of its bases. Just think about like a soda can. You could sit it down just normally on the bottom and it would stand fine because the bottom is flat. And hopefully not after you've opened it, but you could also set it down with the top on the floor and it would stay still there too. But if we were to set it down on its side, like over here, it would just roll because it's not flat. Its side is a curved shape. It's not flat. Now a cone is another example of a solid that is not a polyhedron. A cone has one circular base and a vertex connected by a curved side. So same idea here. You might be tempted to say, oh, that's a circular prism, but we can't have shapes that aren't flat or sides or faces that aren't flat. You could sit this down on this part of it. It's almost like putting an ice cream cone upside down. It would sit just fine. But if you tried to put it on the ground on its side, it would just roll around. So this is not a polyhedron. It is a shape, it is a solid, but it's not a polyhedron. One of the things you need to know how to do is name the different parts. So we already talked about the shape on the front. It's the same as the shape on the front. We know since it has one base that all comes up to a point, that is a prism. And the shape at the bottom has 5 sides, so it's a pentagonal prism. Now it wants us to find the faces. So I'm going to try to go through this as carefully as I can. So remember, the faces are the sides that are not the bases. So in fact, let's go and do the base first. This one just has one base. The reason it's plural here is because they don't want to give away to you how many bases there are. But also, if it was a prism, there would be 2 bases. But a pyramid just has one base. And it doesn't actually matter what order you put the letters in. Well, it doesn't matter what order you put them in. It doesn't matter what letter you start with. When you're naming a shape with this many letters, you should go in order. Like, if you start with B, you either need to say C, D, E, F next, or if you start with B, you could say F, E, D, C next, so you're going around the shape in order. But you could start it with E and then go around, or D then go around. I'm just going to stick alphabetical, start with B and go this way, and say the base is B, C, D, E, F. Now the faces are all the sides of this prism. Oh wow, sorry. Just realized I wrote that wrong. I don't remember what I said, but this is a pyramid, not a prism. So let's back up. One base comes up to a point. That's a pyramid. We know it's a pentagonal pyramid because the pentagon is the base. So now that we name the base, we need to name the faces. That's the sides that go up from the base to this point. So since this has 5 sides, there also are going to be 5 faces. There's 5. Since the pentagon has 5 sides, that means the polyhedron, this pyramid, also has 5 faces. So I'll just start with the one in the front. And again, I'm just going to choose to be alphabetical, keep it easier. So A, B, C covers this triangle that's right in the front. And I'll just move clockwise. So this one that's still visible, but over here on the left, I'll say A, B, F. Then we have this one that's kind of in the back with the dotted lines on the left. A, E, F. Then we have the one in the back that's got some dotted lines. So A, D, E. And then we have the one in the front on the right that we can see. That's A, C, D. Now technically if you put like the letters in here in different order, it's still correct. But I'd ask you to be alphabetical just so it's easier for me to grade it. That'd be really appreciative. Okay, now there's lots of edges because the edges represent every place two bases meet, two faces meet, a face meets a base, all those things. So personally, I'm just going to start by listing all the ones that are here down at the base. So I'm going to choose to go alphabetical again. So I'll say BC, CD, DE, EF, and FB from there to there. So that took us all the way around the base. Next, let's list all the edges where the faces meet. That's these sides up here. And those are all going to have A as part of their answer. So I'll say A, where it comes down to B. That's one of the edges, so AB. Then where A comes down to, I'll just go the same order I did, go clockwise here. AF, AE, AD, and AC. Sorry, I ran out of room there. There are those. Pause if you need to write it down. Then the vertices, thankfully that's easier. You do need to put a comma in between these, by the way, just so I know what you're actually saying is separate. The vertices, remember, those are the points where three of them meet together. And good news, it just means you list the letters, because the letters mark the vertices, the place where we have a vertex. So I just need to list A, B, C, D, E, F. So that part's not too bad. Now, if you need to watch this again, please do, because being able to, I know this is kind of long and takes a while to write these down, but understanding what these parts are is very important. Now, the last part, I'm going to put a video in the description of this. There's another YouTube video in the description that I think helps you visualize this more. But when we cut a 3D shape with a two-dimensional plane, think about like taking a slip of paper and cutting it through. It makes a certain shape. So for example, this one, when it goes through this cone, it creates a triangle. But this is also a cone, but now the paper is going horizontally instead of vertically, and the shape it makes is a circle. And this one makes a parabola. It's just this curve like this. So parabola is what we call that. It's almost like a half circle, but it's not.